Okay, so welcome everybody. That's my QR code. If you want to get in touch with me afterwards, email or text message, anything works. I'm very happy to be here with Ray America for the past 2 years. We've seen a big difference in our practice, and I'll share all the things that I found out. And I've been doing the research, and I've been working hard to give you as much information as I can. But we're full speed ahead with 3D facial scanning. It was a bump ride for about 2-3 months to get the staff on board. But once the staff saw the benefits, everything kind of started clicking, and now it's very streamlined, and it's pretty much there's no patient that walks in with an implant or a smile console or denture, a provisional, orthodontics, anybody in that realm. Not for hygiene and not for basic restorative, but for any kind of those realm smile designs, implants, and occlusion, FMR cases, everybody gets a CBCT, everybody gets a RAYFace. It's automatic. So the timeline of that I'll go through, meaning when the time the patient walks in to the time they get the radiographs, scanning, the 3D facial scanning, the CBCT scan, that whole process is about 20 minutes total. But the CBCT and the RAYFace are about maybe tops 5 minutes. So that's done literally in the same room, and I'll show you how to set it up if you want. CBCT scan and the RAYFace are in exactly the same room. So they get the CBCT done, they sit down, they get the RAYFace, pap, a couple of photos, and then we got the information that we need, and I'll show you how we share it. So this is the staff at our FMR course. We're here every Friday. We have a live patient education on occlusion, implants, and aesthetics. It's the only one in the world right now that does live patient treatment on these complicated cases. There's no other course in the world that does live patient occlusion. All the other occlusion courses are didactic. So we're very proud of the last 15, 16 years that we've been doing this, and our faculty have been amazing. And the doctors are graduating actually Friday. Every year they graduate. So anybody want information on FMR, happy to share with you. So the biggest important thing to understand about 3D facial scanning is the information and how we use it. So if you're going to have 3D facial scanning, for me, it was the missing link. We always took photography for many years. We started taking CBCTs about 18 years ago. We started taking scans in 2008, so that's about 16 years ago. We started taking videos maybe 10 years ago. And again, all those were always pieces of the pile to get together, to integrate, to send it to the laboratory. The bottom line is the laboratory has to put these files into exocad. That's the system that we're using because it's the fastest. There's also 3Shapes, another good one that works. A lot of different good smile profiles and kind of softwares that work. But the most important thing to understand is that all these files are being put together and being sent to your laboratory for all on X cases, on smile design cases. And to me, I'm trying to find out the fastest, easiest way to communicate with my lab and be able to teach it. Because if I'm the only one that can do it, that makes absolutely no sense to me in my thought process. I want to be able to have something that I can sit down with a dentist or a dental student even, which we're proving that actually works, that can actually, do this process very simply. It's got to be simple. It's got to be easy. It's got to be teachable, and it's got to be easy to learn, especially for my assistants, because I don't have the time to do every step. I don't have that kind of time. So if I have a software that can put it all together for us and then send it to the lab in one file that's compressed very easily, then what happens with all these files when you get them, you send it to the laboratory. Now they have to open up my file. When they open up my file, everything is already organized for them. Most of you are taking CBCT, sending to your laboratory for let's say an implant planning software. You're sending them photos in a separate file. You're sending them emails or scans in a separate email. So they're getting 5 or 6 different files from you. That's one dentist. And they have to go get all these files and put them in an organized manner for that patient into their exocad. That takes a laboratory minimum about 45 minutes for one dentist with all the files. And that's why it takes 2-3 weeks to schedule an appointment for a surgical case. It takes like a week sometimes. Some of the good labs maybe 3-4 days. But they're hiring these digital people to get the files organized. You have to understand what's going on in laboratories today. They're getting all these files, and they need people to organize the files. So here's where I saw with Ray America and RAYFace, it wasn't just a 3D facial scanner. It was an integration of software that made a lot of sense for me. And then when I started looking at it and getting all these files together, it wasn't just that the 3D facial scanner was accurate, but it was that the files were already, before they get to the lab, they're already integrated. So to me, having this kind of software together with those smile simulations, so understand something. Some people want to use 3D facial scanning for smile simulation to show the patient what they can look like. I personally think that's a mistake. And the reason I think it's a mistake is because a photograph like this, when you do a simulation, you can kind of say to the patient, hey, look, you're going to look like that. They kind of see it. There's nothing different in their face. When you have a 3D facial scan, it's not exactly the way the patient looks. It's never exactly the way the patient. The photographs are much better. So they see themselves in an awkward, like, avatar, dental avatar that's not really them. And it's a little bit of psychological distancing, I found out in the beginning. So I stopped doing it that way, and because everybody says that doesn't look like me. And when I saw a photo like this, like a simulation photo, like, oh, that looks like me and the teeth look nice. So understand that smile simulation for me has been done by separate software. And again, the package of that whole software is sent out through RAYFace, the software, to the exocad laboratory. And that starts the conversation of the consultation with the patient. In addition to, once we have now the patient with the face, we really have a full articulated patient. So anytime you're doing more than 6 units on an arch, implant restorations, dentures, or any kind of integration of a face and multiple units or full mouth rehabilitation, it's a very different approach to have the patient be involved and have the articulation in the right way. Is there a question? Did you say there was a question?
No, there's no question for now. It was just someone's audio.
Okay, so again, the data collection is very important to integrate all these technologies. Again, if you have one person in the office, it's going to take time for them to do that individually, send out all these emails for one patient. If you have 20, 30 patients, it takes forever to do that. So having a software on top of the 3D facial scanning that can integrate that saves a lot of time. 3D facial scanning for me is time saving and predictability. Those are the 2 words that I would say. And of course, integration, predictability, and time saving for me. So one of the things that we look for when we have consultation with offices is to make sure that their Windows software is at least 2018 minimum, and their Wi-Fi is very strong. So sometimes some of the doctors are getting the RAYFace, but they don't have an integration software, or they don't have their server is not strong enough. So you want to make sure your server is at least 5 years old. If it's over 10 years old, it's probably not going to work, because the files are just going to take too long. They're going to clutter the whole system. So that's the integration part. So again, for us, we're about over 24 months now, 106 patients, whether it's implants, aesthetics, or FMR cases. Everybody's RAYFaced. That has to do with, more than 6 units, and of course occlusion changes, implant cases, smile designs, all that stuff. Dentures, I never do dentures really in New York City, but I found that making a denture is a lot simpler now. So I had about 4 different doctors send me about 12 different dentures, and we did it for free, right? Our first 6 months, we wanted to get the data, so we did dentures for free at the office because we wanted to see if the protocol would work. And I knew if it worked in dentures, then I knew it could work for implants. And that's really where the research came back from, is once I knew how to do it with dentures, then I knew how to interpret that to implants, because implants is more prevalent in our practice. So for smile makeovers, implants, provisionals, this is a big part. When I say provisionals, what I mean is there's a lot of patients that come in that need an aesthetic rehabilitation, or they don't want to take out all their teeth. They have periodontal disease or something, and we want to get a provisional made really quickly and accurately. What I found in the past, doing a lot of provisional cases, we would send it out to different laboratories. We'd get, biotemps, or even a wax up that we used to get. And then I would always kind of work for 2 hours to get this wax up or this biotemp to kind of work on a provisional case. And that's not the case anymore. because we have such a really clear vision of where the incisal edges are and the incisal position of the central position of the face, and we can actually measure it and make sure we're getting the right teeth selection for the patient, we're going to insert those provisionals in a much more timely manner with very little occlusal changes because we got the CBCT scan, we got the joint position, so we don't have to worry about articulation. So this provisional thing, we've been doing periopros for 30 years. And to have a provisional that actually goes in very, very easily, and I'll show you some of the cases, that's a big time saver for us. So instead of having to remount the provisional or reline the PMMA, the occlusion's off, the central's a little bit off, the central's sizes, the widths, the midline, all these things that go wrong, I don't have that anymore. So to me, the amount of money I have to spend to save hours of time is priceless. I mean, it's just really, really priceless. All on 6 cases, FMR cases, upper and lower arches, and now with ortho and aligners, that I can't tell you how much Align Technologies right now is huge into this 3D facial scanning because they know they can minimize their revisions. Remember, it costs them a lot of time and money to do revision. There's about, I think, 12%, 18% revisions right now, depending what area you're working. Where now the patients are complaining, the doctors are complaining, Align Technologies is upset, the aligner companies are upset. So having this technology to put the face and finish the case with the face in mind, as opposed to just the teeth in mind, it sets up a lot of issues. There's a lot of patients coming in, the midline's a little off, the teeth are a little too further out. So the ortho are going to save a lot of time and, again, money for them having a 3D facial scanner on top of their Align technology and their ClinCheck. So again, it's a big, big, huge part of ortho because ortho is a big, big component of dentistry and aligners. So it's going to really mesh it. I would say in 2 or 3 years, every Align company is going to have a 3D facial scanner on top of their regular digital stuff. They may even have their own. So to me, it's I knew it was real 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and now it's 100% involved in most of the dental softwares that are out there right now. So what does it do for me? Tooth selection. Number one priority for me right now is I can pick the best tooth for that patient, the size, the width, the length, the position, the occlusion, and get it to the right position. All right. The second big thing is integration, having these pieces together. The laboratory, the surgeons are easily meshed together with exocad. And then the accuracy, again, a lot of facial scanners out there, they look great, they're easy to use, but they're not accurate. There's little discrepancies. And we had our discrepancies in the beginning too, and I figured it all out because we started measuring the incisal edges, and now we don't have that problem. Quality control, for you to evaluate that as a clinician, is really important. So I'm going to tell you, if you're not doing quality control and if you think that the lab's just going to make it perfect all the time, well, then you're kind of like saying, well, 10, 20%, I'm going to let it be a little bit off. So we have that very strict quality control that once they design it, I look at it, I check it very, very closely. If you're checking the cases with quality control, it takes really 2 minutes to say, bring up the lateral, move the midline a half a millimeter to the left, and then you know you're going to fall into the right position when you go to your clinical situation. The printing contact today, connection with printing, obviously, everybody, I don't know, I didn't have a printer here for a while. I had them in the beginning, and then I got rid of them. Now I got a new printers. The connection is very easy. You're going to see how it gets sent up to the cloud, get printed. Printing's $25 now instead of spending $150 on wax ups or $1,000 on wax ups. It's just saving me hundreds of thousands of dollars. Again, saving time is a big deal. Comparison with other scanners, all of them are accurate. The merge of exocad is much faster with RAYFace. The major differences are data analysis, meaning the data is being analyzed differently. So I would go to a facial scanner, and I go to the floor all the time, and all the major cities of the dental conventions, and I want to see the other 3D facial scanners. And I'm asking them, how's your data get analysis? What's your facial planes? Let me see the facial planes automatically. Oh, I don't have that. Okay, let me see how are you merging the files? Are you merging them with dot matrix of merging, which is dot, 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 and then it merges, or are you doing incisal edge the way we are? So all these little things make it for more accuracy. Those are the major differences. As an outsider, you're going to see they all look really cool and really nice, but when it gets down to the detail work, again, I want to be able to put my provisional in, put my case in, and I got the occlusion set and the midline's on perfect, and I've checked it, and I know it's going to be okay. For today's, just FYI, they just told me it's $15,000 only for today. If you're interested, everybody's got different price points and kind of deals going on, but they're saying if it's a doctor today, who's purchasing today, that's the number that they're going for. And in my mind, the way I rationalize this as a business is I put $3,000 down. I amortize the $12,000 over 2.5 years or 3 years, and it's about $250 a month. Any bank will give you an equity loan for $12,000. It's a lot easier, or you could put it on your credit card and get the miles. So there's no way to say it's not affordable and it's too much money. That's ridiculous. You're going to save so much money at the end. So how do we do it? Well, there's 3D color photos. There's 12 seconds total. We're taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 photos, about 12 seconds. The photograph's 180 degrees. Hair is back, no hat. No earrings if you can, but usually want to see the ears and we want to see the face. So hats off, glasses off. You want to get the face really clear and the smile. They have to be able to smile so you see their actual lip position. So when you're doing all on 6, you're doing a smile design, you kind of want to get their whole face smiling from a good vantage point. Now, a lot of people don't smile because they're not happy. You got to force them up. What you're trying to see is where their lips end up, because once you see where their lips end up, you're going to know where the teeth are going to have to be. And we want to get that perfect edge of the incisal edge. Sometimes they need a little bit coming forward in terms of their profile, facial profile. Sometimes they're bucky and we want to bring them in. So we want to get a really good profile of the teeth. The most important thing is the teeth incisal position is the accurate part. When we do the CBCT scan and we do the RAYFace and we do the photos and we do the scan, that whole merge, it has to do with not just a dot point matrix, but a whole line between 5 to 12, usually I say. So 5 to 12 going across on the incisal edge is going to give you that accuracy so you can merge all the files together. And that merging is usually done by the assistant. It's not done by me. They'll merge it and I'll come in for about 10 seconds and check it. So that takes about 10 minutes for them to do that. So in terms of the time, the patient's time is literally less than 2 minutes total. CBCT scan 5 minutes and RAYFace 2 minutes. So total is 5 minutes.
Actually, I have a question. Just wanted to clarify something. So the 12 seconds, is that the reconstruction time that you're mentioning, or is that
that's the camera
capturing
the photo.
The scan
taking
time.
About 6. It's not. We don't call it scanning because you're not really scanning. You're taking a photo. So the 3D facial scan is actually taking a photo. There are other 3D facial scans that actually have to hold the whole thing, and they got to scan the face. And that's the big difference. We're not taking a scan of the face. We're taking photos of the face, very fast photos. So if we take 6 photos, 2 seconds each, it's 12 seconds. The other scanners have to sit there and scan for like a minute, like a regular iOS scanner. And that's where the inaccuracies are. When it's operator deficient. So some guy could be a really good scanner, some person's a bad scanner. When you're taking photos, you can't mess it up. You can't mess it up. You're just pushing a button, they're standing still, holding their head straight, tat, 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 you're taking their photos. So it's a different way to approach a 3D facial scanner than actually scanning the patient. And that's the big difference. I think that
RAYFace takes the photos simultaneously from all cameras at the same time.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's not a scan. It's like as you would think about a scanning of the face. That's the big difference. So the incisal edge is also the big part of the accuracy. It's a one-click alignment. So you're basically having all the scans. You're clicking it. It's merging all the files, and you're giving you that one click of all the other digital files. So you're clicking the files as you're putting them into the position. Again, my assistant is doing that, and that takes about 7 to 10 minutes for her to get everything aligned. She calls me over, I take a look, I make sure it's aligned, and I look at it, and I check that, and now it's good. Once that part is done, then that whole process is completed, and that gets emailed to the laboratory. There's no bite fork, there's no headgear, there's no crazy things on the patient. And then it's imported directly into exocad and into any milling machine. That's, again, a time saver. These are the, I'm just showing you the features that are faster and cleaner and better than the other 3D facial scanners. The other ones, there's a couple out there, they're very accurate, but these are the features that I'm telling you, for me, was a difference maker for me. So again, here you see the incisal edge right there. If you look at other facial scanners, they have this distortion. And if you have distortion, yes, you can plot up the CEJs of the teeth, but again, you're going to have these little inaccuracies. And over the course of cases, you don't want to have that. Here are the 6 cameras that you're going to see when you take it. Captures it very nicely, captures the face. the side view. Again, that's why you have no hats. You want to see the ears and everything as much as possible. So an OBG file is what it takes. 3D facial scan is an OBG file. So you have a DICOM file, a CL file, OBG file, all these different files. You're going to put them all together. And that's when you're creating basically a virtual patient. For denture patients like this patient, he came in with nothing. This was the most difficult. I found this to be the most difficult case because there's no reference point. So when there's no reference point, you have to physically put some kind of teeth in there and get some kind of bite guard. And what I found was once I understood the software, I could put in the teeth that I wanted. I can understand the occlusion of the TMJ, and then I can outline that in my design, and then I can bring that into exocad and physically figure out exactly what I needed to do. I do have to get a occlusal rim for denture patients or people that are dentureless, because then you need the lip support. So it's not enough just to have the incisal edges. You have to have the lip support too. So it's for the denture patient, it's a impressions 3D scan, occlusal rim 3D scan, facial scan, prototype try-in, and then delivery. So for dentures right now, it's 4 visits. Very accurate, predictable, and a dental student can do it. It's very, very clean and easy. But the most important part, again, I want to stress is that the occlusal vertical dimension of the patient, when you have them smiling, and if you're changing them, we're changing verticals all the time. We're doing a lot of FMR changing verticals. So we have to have that component of the jaw in the process. Otherwise, the occlusion is going to be off. So we're not just taking a bite registration without a face bow. Well, if I have the joint, I don't need a face bow anymore, because we've been taking face bows for years to get that alignment of the jaw. So again, now I don't have to do that because now I have the patient's face and I have the CBCT, and now I'm creating the actual dental avatar there. Another part, big feature for me, we do a lot of facial analysis for patients, not only just for teeth and noses and eyes, but we're looking at all these different lines. Well, guess what? When I ask them about the facial lines, this is a button that you press and all the lines come up. What that does for me is it allows me to analyze the patient's face really quickly. If the eyes are off, if the forehead is off, if the nose is to the right, and then I have to make a decision of where is the actual midline of the patient. So when I orient the teeth and the tooth sizes and the teeth selection, I'm orienting to the face. What we used to do, and what everybody does, 90% of the dentists out there, they have a model, or even if they have a face bow, they're kind of centering into the model and maybe the frenum. Well, guess what? We found out that the frenum sometimes doesn't match the face. We found out that the maxilla can be canted. So there's all these little things that happen when you start putting the lines in. Well, I want to put it to the face. So when I put the provisionals in, it's in the facial midline and the occlusal position is correct. You want to mute them? Unless they have a question.
Yeah, I just did. Sorry. No, I don't think they had a question. They just joined.
So for me, having this was like a big wow moment for me, because I use this all the time when I'm drawing. We do drawings and we do education with facial lines. So now I have it right in front of me. So this was a big wow for me. People don't use this technology, and I get now some people don't use lines analysis, but we do facial analysis on every patient. And to me, that's like a huge thing to have it on a real avatar now, that I can measure the occlusal lines, I can measure my FMR lines, FMA angle, SNA angle. Those are for what we're doing for FMR cases, especially if you're doing all on X's and you're finding your all on X's are to the, slanted to the right or canted, or the midlines are off. This is what you're not measuring. This is the piece that you're missing. So to me, this is a big piece for me for facial analysis and all on X's and facial designs.
Doctor, I have a question from Chihata Peter. It says, what's the field of view that you use as far as the CBCT?
Field of view, I have the biggest field of view. I think it's 16 by 11. Is that the largest size? I don't know what the largest size is, but I have the largest size. The reason I need that for myself is not only do I need the joint, I want to capture the C1, C2, C3, because we find with sleep apnea and sleep disorders and vertical dimension changes, that I need to see the actual vertebrae. So I want to see if they're collapsed, if they're closed up, if they have tension pain, if they have migraine headaches. So we have a full scope of the view. I think you may be asking, what's the field of view that you need to get the TMJ? Well, you got to have at least I think it's 12 by 10 to get the joint position. I'm not sure the exact number, but when you take your CBCT, you want to see the joint. Otherwise, you lose the benefit of the face bow. Without the joint, you don't know what the angle is and what the articulation is. So I think you have to have a CBCT that gives you that as well. When I tell my doctors they want to buy a CBCT scan, I said, this is not the time to cut corners and get the cheapest one. I don't care about what it costs, but get the one that gives you the information. You don't want to, cut corners on the information that you need. Whatever it costs, another $10,000, $20,000, whatever that is, you have to have your information in the course of your career. You're not making a decision for now. You're making a decision for 10 years from now. So to me, you got to have the joint. Otherwise, you're losing a lot of information, especially with TMJ patients and ortho patients. I mean, I cannot do a CBCT without a joint position. Any other questions?
Okay. We have no questions so far.
Okay, so we got the iOS, we got the JPEG file. They're all going to get merged together. And then once the designer does that, he's going to send it to the studio, and they're going to start making teeth. That's later. The most important part we're talking about is right here, is the scan part, where we're taking all the digital file data. This is me in 2002 with Ted Ryo, who's a great engineer and marketing manager and he really spent a lot of time with me. So I want to say thank you to Ted for getting me to the position where I understood the software. It took us at least 4 sessions for me to get it, understand it. And don't take my word for it. I mean, I'm a little crazy, so I was asking some crazy questions. Most people have a 2 or 3 hour education and they kind of get it. But I wanted to get deep into the software, so I spent a lot of time with Ted, and I want to thank him for that. So today our totals are it's supposed to be 106. Sorry, at the updated version. 106 patients. The blue is the patients, completed as the light blue, and the complications are the ones in the green. So we've done a lot of smile designs, not so many all-annexes, a lot of FMR cases. The doctors this year did about 10 smile and FMR cases with RAYFace. They all saw the benefit of it. The provisionals fell into place. I'm going to present one of them from one of our associates, Dr. Ari. But this has been my data that I've been collecting. And when you see complications, what I mean by complications, it means it didn't really fit 100%. There was something off. But again, if you see, there's really minimal of these complications that I had. I had 3 complications out of all these cases, where it just wasn't the way I wanted it to be. I was expecting perfection and was a little bit off. And I want to document everything, because everybody should know what I'm doing on a daily basis. And again, if anybody's around New York City and want to come by and say hello, we're going to have a session in July that I'm going to invite people to. So if you want to come to that, it'll be July 31st, I think. We made a date for that, and you can sign up for that. So this is one of our first smile makeover patient. It was my assistant. We scanned the patient, did a photos, RAYFace, export to exocat, ideal smile design, fabricate, wax up, fabricate provisional matrix, prep for porcelain veneers, scan final impression. So this is basically our SOT workflow. And they were layered Emax crowns, right? So they were inserted in 2 visits. But I want to show you Norellis' case, and we published this in Dentistry Today. She's edge to edge. We need to change the vertical a little bit to give her a little space. Did some gum surgery to get her some more. Dr. Armin did this case with me. We do our smile position, which is great for our simulation. Here's the first RAYFace that we took. Here's the prep design, and here's the matrix. So the matrix is made from the design. So I'll show you the design is here. Let me bring this up here. So here's the design that we're actually looking at. So when we look at this comes into exocat. So this is after the patient's left, right? We took this RAYFace. That's all done. It's accurate. We import everything, send everything to the lab. The lab gives us this exocat file. It comes up on your computer, on your laptop, on your phone. And I'm basically doing quality control. So what they're showing me is this is where the teeth were, and this is where the teeth are going to be. And I'll say, well, the lateral looks a little funny. Let's straighten it out. So this is my quality control. So I'll go through this with them. And basically, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, hey, this is a little bit off. The lateral is a little bit, short. So this is me going through the test on my computer, and I'm just analyzing and making sure the midline's in the right position. I like the design that they gave me. Maybe she had to bring it out a little bit more. And I'm just checking all the files. And by doing this kind of moving around of the files, again, on your computer, no login, no time wasted, just immediately into the exocat file, you can analyze what the laboratory has done. So again, the 3D facial scan has been done with the patient already. This is now behind the scenes to get what I need to get, which is the perfect provisional wax cell. So once the case is prepped, and in this first case, I had the doctors here. I had about 12 doctors in the room. And I said, I'm going to do 3 different wax ups. I'm going to do the regular wax up from my regular lab. I'm going to do a DSD protocol, which we used a couple of times. And then we're going to use a digital lab using RAYFace, which was Sander from Clinicians Solutions, Clinical Solutions. So I said, let's do the 3. And I said, you guys tell me which one you like. Now, again, to me, when this sat into position, this was like 3 minutes. And it sat into position, it just looked a lot better than all the others. So that was our first kind of test run and see how it looked. And then when I had to contour it, I mean, I was done in about 30 minutes here because everything was done already on the computer and the midlines were in the right position. The CEJs were in the right position. So again, that was the first one that we tried. And that was the provisionals for Norellis. Then we scanned that as well. So we scanned that for the final restorations. Obviously, for final restorations, we're going to make some nice porcelain veneers. And she wanted the white color. The point I'm saying is, to me, this was the first sort of, wow, this is getting me closer to my adjustment and less adjustments than all my other designs, which was either wax ups, which are $1,000, $1,200, or DSD, which was $800. So, or $650 sometimes. They were a little bit cheaper. The point I'm trying to make is, well, if I can get this done that's more accurate and it's only going to cost me $110 for a design and a print, well, again, that's just time and money saved, and it's going to be into the right position. When we did the RAYFace All on X, we found out that this was going to work. So he had a denture, want to convert the denture, but the teeth were a little too big. It wasn't really biting correctly. We did the RAYFace, we designed it. This implant had to be buried. It was in the wrong position. So we got 5 out of there. I printed the provisional. I connected to the analogs. I got a beautiful provisional, midline dead on. Occlusion's pretty good. It took me about 25 minutes to get this to seat. So it wasn't like I had to really work 2 hours for it. Did some pink acrylic up there, and he's biting in a good position. Comes back about 4 months later. He's from Texas, but comes back 4 months later. And now we have the original design that we have. We just copy that to the PMMA, copy that to the PMMA. Again, the midline's on position, the occlusion sits right, and I don't have adjustments. Again, if you're doing all on X and it's taking you 2 hours to insert this, there's a problem. There's too many errors. There's vertical dimension errors, there's canted errors, there's midline errors, there's processing errors, and I have to get rid of it. I can't do a 2-hour process anymore when I have this technology. It doesn't make any sense. So he leaves with the second prototype, and he's going to be finished with his final. This is, again, Dr. Arman did this case. It was an FMR case. We did all the analysis with her eyes and her face and her position. We increased in central incisors to give her a higher vertical dimension. So you can see that anterior teeth have been increased. So now the position of the posterior teeth is out of occlusion. I'm basically deprogramming her with the anterior teeth, and that's the vertical that I want. Once I send that to the laboratory, again, we get our design back, and it's in the right midline, the right occlusion, the right articulation in the joint. And this is her initial position. This is her design. So this is me, again, opening my email. All the file has been downloaded into the laboratory. The laboratory puts it right into exocad. Takes them literally not even 40 minutes to get my file and send it right in, as opposed to 2 or 3 hours to collect all the data for the one patient. So for the lab tech, he can give me a design within 2 days as opposed to 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's a much faster turnaround because he has all the files and he doesn't have to work hard to get it. So he imports that, shows me the design, I analyze it, and now we have a printer. So that design, once I approve it, he sends it back to me for approval. I approve it. He sends it to our laboratory in the back. The assistants download the file, maybe about, I don't know, 2 minutes. And then they design it. It's already been designed. And now they send it to the printer, and the sprint rate printer prints up the model. So this becomes my ideal wax up. And then again, you're just using the matrix. You're popping it over the preps. And this is about, I don't know, 35, 40 minutes for 2 arches for Dr. Arman. Puts it in position. He gets his final, takes his final impression. 2 weeks later is inserted. So I'm not so trying to show you the final case. I'm trying to show you this case, because this is the provisional is what saves us time and gets us to the right size for the face. We never had this before. We always had a wax up, and we tried the wax up in, and we play with the wax up, and it's 2 hours later, and I lost, that's the way I did it. I didn't complain. We used to have scheduled, 2.5, 3 hours for these smile makeovers, but now we're down to an hour and a half, right? We're down an hour and a half because I know the temps are falling into place, and that's the final. This is her before. Great work by Dr. Arman. And you can see, again, it's following the contour of her face based on the original wax up. Dr. Ari's been out of school for 1 year. He took our FMR course just to show you that you don't have to be an expert in this. He's a great dentist. He's took his residency at the VA hospital. And we had, a nice patient here who happens to be a dental student. She just graduated from dentistry. And her teeth were a little crooked. Her gums were a little bit off. She wanted a new smile for her graduation pictures. So we have to reduce some of the facials, as Dr. Ari did here, bring out the arch, did some crown lengthening on the premolars to get her position correct. And again, this is the design that we got. So once I get this design, I look at it, I say, well, the centrals are a little bit short. Let's make them a little bit longer. Let's get the perio done in the posterior teeth. And then again, looking at the design after we design it, I take a look at the three-dimensional face, make sure her midline's positioned, make sure the premolars are high enough. So I'm looking at it, I'm analyzing. I'm saying, okay, we like what we see. Okay, go to print. So we like what we see, we print it. And then once we print it, we're going to prep the teeth. This is the crown lengthening side. You can see how the provisionals fall into place. Again, Dr. Ari's been out for 1 year. I think it took him about an hour, which is a lot. It wouldn't be a lot easier for me, but for him, for an hour to get provisionals in, I thought that was pretty cool. So he got this provisionals in, take his final photos, takes his position, sends out for the final case. And again, following the wax up, we can actually now, complete that with the final case, and it kind of mimics it. Guidance right, guidance left, premolar tissue is nice and healthy. Got a great result. Dr. Ari really knocked this thing out of the park, and she was really happy. She's just got a nice smile for her graduation from dental school. So again, being able to share this with our students becomes a big thing. There's a couple of questions.
Won't have any more questions for now. Just someone who had an issue viewing your screen, but should be resolved.
Okay. So this is another student at NYU, had Invisalign. We cleaned them up. So we went from here, a lot of perio, we cleaned them up, got rid of the bands. We did a smile preview for him, sent it to his mom. His mom said, yeah, we'll charge him like 50% because he was a NYU student. So we get like a kind of a pro bono kind of thing for him. But again, we designed it for Louis. Nice, beautiful design. Did some crown lengthening up here. Got his position good. Got the design. His midline's a little bit off, so we kind of try to fix that. So again, it's just an easy way to analyze the patient's face. The provisionals go into position. He's got his provisionals lined up. Get the finals now. Copy the provisionals, and that's the provisionals. That's the finals. But really, just a big change.
One life. He changes lives. You do this. You change your patient's life. It's a snowball. One educational course changes everybody's life.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change people's lives. And you see him here smiling pretty good. We just did Evan. This is Evan. He's a D4 student as well. He saw Diane's teeth. He says, I want to have beautiful teeth. Can you do ours? I said, absolutely. So we did a little bit of color changes here. This is Evan. So you see he's got a bite collapse. It's actually had some surgery, so his bite is not working right now. It says no occlusion on the molars here. So we're going to add occlusion, change the vertical dimension, so give him some more support, and just do onlay veneers on the posteriors. And we literally just prepped this case this afternoon at 5 o'clock. This is the 3D facial scan for him. And this is one of the designs that Dr. Ari did on his own designed software. Basically printed the model yesterday, and today, this is the preps. We just literally just did this at 6 o'clock today. Took the pictures, I uploaded them. That's the last thing I was doing when I was talking to you. So look at the design, it just falls into place. This is just taking the matrix off. I didn't touch it. All right, it's a perfect position. All I have to do is trim it up, cement it. I got to that, I don't know, it took us like 20 minutes to get here. Polished it up, and he's right now, he's got his teeth. So you can call him up and say hi to Evan. But he's got a perfect smile right now. It literally took me about 25 minutes to put the provisionals in. So these cases also, we've been doing these FMR cases, again, all with 3D facial scanning, really dramatic cases to be able to deliver provisionals and finals in a very predictable manner. For ortho and orthognathic patients, I think this is a big deal. When you have ortho patients and then they can do their clin check, when they can move it into position, but not only get it right, but now they have the face on top of it. Because if that midline is off or there's a cant, then they have to do revisions. Again, to me, this makes a lot more sense to have a facial part of it in your analysis of your orthognathic and ortho cases. The dental students at NSU, I bought this down last year. It's the first, third year, fourth year, and Prostho clinic to have 3D facial scanning. This is one of our doctors, second year PG Prost doctor, took this really extensive, massive FMR case, designed it herself, did the whole thing with the facial scan and the CBCT, and printed the models herself. So this is her design, her printed model, and she printed up a PMMA. She was just doing a great job, Dr. Jane. She's doing really well. We're at now 12 universities, 30% of prosthodontists using the technology, 40% of GPs, and 30% are implantologists. So the distribution's there. I think this is the first 2 years of the initial adoption. Like anything else, iOS was scanning in 2008, and everybody said it was never going to work. So I think it's that early stage of adoption process, but the technology's there. I'm very happy to be on the forefront of it and learning about it and then teaching. Look, we're still learning. We're still we're 2 years old on this, so we're still learning a lot. This was at the ICP annual meeting. She presented, Dr. Sajal Jane presented that, and she got third prize. So I was really happy for her to present her case. We published in Dentistry Today in May last year. We have 2 more publications coming out this year in different articles. We published dentures, we published smile design. And then if you're interested, July 31st, Wednesday, 6 to 8, we're going to have a hands-on live patient demonstration. It's a $95 fee just for the facility and just paying the assistants and everybody. But once you buy the machine, you get your $95 back. So it's a refundable purchase. So it's July 31st. Email me or contact Ray America if you want to register. We'll have that live patient demonstration. Again, our courses are on October 27th, 2024, fmrnyc.com. And here's the QR code if you want to look at that. We build confidence, we build growth at FMR in our courses, and we're so happy to have Ray America as part of our sponsorship. So I'll take some questions now, if there's any questions, and we can go through any kind of case if you want.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Dean. If anyone has any questions, please type them in the chat. We'll see.
Let's go to the chat. See what's going on there. I'm gonna jump out, stop share. Say hello to everybody. Dr. Callie's here. Dr. Anita, Dr. Kira, hello, hello. Dr. Min's here. Who else?
So I have a couple of questions. So Min Nyun saying, do you or anyone train to use RAYFace for smile design?
So you're going to use 3D facial when you do your course and you do your training. If you want to learn smile design on RAYFace, you can do that. I don't do it that way. I do the smile design in exocad. But if you wanted to do it on RAYFace, yes, 100% you can do it on that. Basically, the way that works is you have your 3D facial scan, and then you're spending, I remember when I did my first 3 cases like that, it took me about, I would say, 20 minutes to get it right, meaning you have the file of the analysis of the teeth, and you can put the teeth into the face and put out the position and align the arch and align that. So that takes about 20 minutes. If you do it that way, that's great. You're going to send that file to the technician, and they're going to copy the part that you would and maybe fine tune it. If you have time to do it, I think it's a good idea. I don't have that kind of time. 20 minutes is a lot of time for me. So I'd rather have I'd rather pay the technician to do that. So let's just say you didn't want to pay them, you want to do it yourself. You can do that 25 minutes to design it, send it to them and say, copy, this is what I like. Then they'll do that and they won't charge you a design fee. So that's a time money thing that you have to balance.
Okay, one more question from
the 3D printer we use is Sprint Ray. That's Sprint Ray. What kind of subscription for exocad do you need to design temps in-house? I'm not sure how much it costs. But yes, you can do, that's what we do at school. So at the Prostho clinic, we'll do 3D facial scanning, CBCT scan, import into our own exocad. And like you saw that the student did it, they did their own design and then they milled it themselves, and they had their own, everything was done in-house. Nothing was sent out in that case. So again, it's very cost effective if you want to do it that way. I don't know what the exocad programs cost. I'm going to say it's in about the $3,000 range. But again, you have to have that kind of time to do that. In the residency, they have tons of time, so they're going to do it that way. They want to learn it as well, and I encourage them to learn it. At my position, I don't have time to do that, so I'd rather pay somebody $150 to do that. How much does the whole step cost? I'm going to assume you mean the whole step, like, I don't know what you mean by the whole step. You mean like the scanning part, the design part?
I think they mean the whole setup, as far as 3D scanner, intraoral scanner, CT, the whole setup to be able to do all of this.
The whole, so if you need a CBCT scan, that's going to be about 80,000. You need an iOS scan, which is about 10,000. You need a RAYFace, which is 15. So you're in about 125,000. If you have nothing in your office, or you're bringing a brand new office, you're in about 125,000. The CBCT scan, which costs the most. This other stuff doesn't cost that much. Sirona CBCT compatible, yes. Yes, Sirona is compatible. Any CBCT is compatible. It's a DICOM file. So once the DICOM file gets imported, it doesn't matter what CBCT you have. So if you have a Sirona, all you're going to buy is a RAYFace and an iOS camera. If you have the CEREC scanner, then you have that part too. Then you're just buying a RAYFace. But I'm going to tell you I would tell you to come to the July 31st hands-on course, please, because you have really good questions and you will see everything in action. You know, really, really in action. The regular price is $17,500, I think. Somebody's asking what's the price if you don't buy it today. $17,500. It's a little bit more. If you buy it today, you save $2,500. There's also different packages when you go to the meetings. If you buy the whole package, obviously you save a lot of money. As an iOS and a RAYFace and a CBCT, you're going to get some pricing off of it. Yes, it's $15K, correct.
So I just wanted to mention something for everyone before they leave. They should be getting an email tomorrow with the survey. We need to collect some information to send to AGD for everyone to get their CE credit. I will also include the link to the survey here in the chat.
Okay. I believe with Sirona, you would need additional module in order to export as a DICOM file. They're a unique file extension. I think that the new programs right now, you're going to use a USB file and you're going to download it onto your desktop, and then you don't have to use another module. Or like Align Technologies, if you're using an iTero scanner, you have to go to the Align main login main port and then download the STL from there. So that's a little bit of a glitch for iTero users. They can't download it from the machine itself. You have to go to the cloud of Align, log in, go get your file, and download it from there. Whereas Trios, Medit, RAYFace, iOS, you can do it directly from the computer. So the only question you need to have, if you have a CEREC, that's fine. If the only question you have to have your Sirona is, I need to get my DICOM files, but every DICOM file right now should be exported pretty easily, even with Sirona. About 7 years ago, it was locked up. If your Sirona is more than 5 years old, it may still be locked up, which means you have to have a separate export for it. Yeah, so I have CEREC and CBCT. So again, it has to do with how old it is. If it's older than 5 years, then you may have a glitch that you can't export easily, because back then they had a closed file. But the new ones, last 5 years, they're all pretty much open. You can probably call up Sirona and say, hey, I want to open up my DICOM files, and I think there's a way to do that. I've heard dentists call me and they said they opened up their files. Because again, you don't want to be in a system that's locking you up. That was the biggest mistake that Sirona ever made. They locked everybody up, and it was like, you can't function. You need to have open files to go up, to go back and forth with your information. I mean, that's ridiculous. Today's world, everything's open. So that was a big mistake that I told them that. I was working with them for 10 years. I said, you got to open up your files. You can't do this. It's too slow. It's too time consuming. I've advised all these companies. Trust me, I've been around digital since 2004. And I advised all these companies about the best way to do it. And it's got to be, again, for me, I cannot be the only one doing it. I want to teach it to students. I want to teach it to dentists. I want to teach it to everybody, and they should be able to do it on Monday morning. They shouldn't have a problem. If it's a good program and the thing is easy, it should not be hard to learn. If it's hard to learn, it's going to take you 5 months to learn something. It doesn't make any sense. It's got to be easy. Great questions. Thank you. Any other questions before we jump out?
So there was one last question from before. How long does smile design take in RAYFace versus exocad?
I would say 20 minutes. The first one took me 27 minutes. I remember timing it. And the third one took me about 20 minutes. I don't know how long exocad takes because I've never done it in exocad, but from what the technicians tell me, it takes them about 15 minutes. Any other questions? My email is drdean17@gmail.com. So if you have any questions, shoot it on over. If you want to come to the office, you can always come to the office and take a look. But we'll have that seminar July 31st, 6 to 8 p.m.
And that's an in-person, right?
Yeah, it's in person and it's going to be live patient demonstration.
Okay, so if no one else has questions, we can wrap this up. So thank you so much, Dr. Dean. It's always a pleasure. And for everyone else, you will receive an email tomorrow with a survey link so we can collect some information to send to AGD. I have also included that link in the chat here. Please fill it out as soon as possible so we can get the CE credit for you guys. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And thank you again, Dr. Dean.
Yeah. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.